And I think in the end, don't be too scared. I was really scared, and in the end, I was like really better than I thought I would be.
Learn from tutors and ex-examiners who are masters of IELTS preparation. Your host, Ben Worthington.
Hello there, IELTS podcast listeners. In this episode, we're going to be talking with Annika, who got a fantastic IELTS result, and she did it while she was in Japan, which is quite interesting. And we're going to dive into that. But first, Annika, could you tell us a bit about yourself and why you decided to take IELTS in Japan?
I'm actually from Germany, and I'm living in Berlin, and I was working in the past years, and I just felt that I needed something new, and I wanted to travel a little bit, so I decided to go to Japan. And at the same time, I was applying for a university course in London, and this course required the IELTS results, so I just figured it would be a good time to do it in Japan, because I think when you're at home, you're always distracted by so many things, and in Japan I had to speak English all the time anyway.
I see. I totally missed that. When we were talking before, I didn't see. Of course, in Japan you'll be speaking English all day, and plus with your Japanese friends, I imagine you'll be speaking English as well, won't you? So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest, most of the Japanese people have some problems with the English language. So sometimes I had to speak a little bit more simpler English, but I also got some international friends. So I think I spoke all levels of English during this time.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Like for some friends, if they insisted I spoke English and their English wasn't so good, I had to bring it down a level or two. And then,
exactly.
If I'm with native speakers, they can bring it up a bit. But originally I had difficulties doing that, and I would speak sometimes really basic English to my parents and stuff, and they would get really frustrated. It's good to have the ability to switch between them.
Yes.
How did you prepare for IELTS while you were in Japan?
At the beginning, I think I bought like 1 or 2 books, and I tried to prepare with them. But especially when it came to the writing part, I had some big troubles because they didn't have any clear instructions on how to do. They just gave the topics and said like, okay, write about it. And so I just wrote down all my thoughts, and my essays were going nowhere, and that frustrated me quite a lot. And what else did I do? I went to a language cafe to just to meet more people with whom I can speak English, and I read English literature. I watched English movies. So I just try to surround everything, all the things that I did with English language.
Gotcha.
And but I think after a while I realized that I got like the frustration just got more and more. And then I did some research and found the podcast that you're doing, and the courses, and this helped me a lot, especially for the writing part.
And with the writing, can you tell us like what frustration you had?
I was, I think, I just didn't know how to get my thoughts into a structure, because when you don't know, like the time when I went to school, it's pretty long ago now, and so I forgot all about the essay rules, and so every time I started to write an essay, I just literally put my thoughts down, and I was also very focused on the content and not about the form. and I really had to learn the structure, and that it actually doesn't really matter what I write, but rather how I write it and how I put it into words.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course.
For example,
yeah, go on.
Yeah, the first essay that I tried to write was about deforestation, and the topic was like search for or give some solutions how to search for some solutions for deforestation. I was like, yeah, if it would be so simple, it would probably not be a problem. But I think I tried to write something for 2 or 3 hours, and then I felt like, no, you're doing something wrong. It can't be. This cannot be.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, like, just 2 things you said in the last few minutes is like, one, that the books, they don't really give you the advice. They say, write your essay and it must be coherent and fulfill task response, and it must have lots of good vocabulary. You know, they say something like that, but it's not very useful, because if they don't tell you how to write the coherent essay or like the organization of the sentences, they might as well just say, how to pass IELTS, write a band 7 or above essay. That's what you need to do. And those instructions are pretty useless. And then
exactly.
And this is what happens in a lot of textbooks. They just say, oh yeah, it's got to be coherent, it's got to be strong, and it's not
or
very
they give you
detailed.
a topic, and then they give you an example text, and then I'm always like, I'm reading the text, and it's like, it makes sense. But if you don't have an instruction how to write it yourself, you won't get to the point.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. And then what you were saying before with the with the content, I mean, it's not the quality of the content, it's the organization, it's the form, as you said. And this is the thing, this is something that the books kind of miss, or they don't explicitly say this, so it's quite confusing. And plus, like you said, if you haven't been writing essays for a long time, if you've been out of academia, it's a real challenge to get back into it. And this is why even native speakers fail, because they're just like, they'll see, like you did, the essay of deforestation, the question, and they're like, Dush, okay, I'm going to write everything I know about deforestation. That's what the question wants, so this is what I'm going to give them. But really what the question wants is like an argument. It's like a persuasion, a claim. So what was would you say that was your biggest challenge, the writing?
Yes, definitely.
Gotcha.
Because everything else, I mean, for like before I did the listening part, I also had I was a bit, I wasn't sure how hard it would be, because both, like the other 2 parts, reading and speaking, you can always make some corrections. I think speaking and reading was the easiest for me, but listening and writing was, I think I had the biggest respect before that.
Gotcha. And what changed after you joined the writing course? What changed for you?
Well, I felt way more relaxed. I think at the beginning I focused on the essay part most, because it was the part that would give me more points. And what changed for me, I think I lost a bit the fear, and that I learned to, as I said before, I learned that it's not my opinion that will get the points in the end, but a structure that is actually pretty simple to learn if you know how to do it. And then I just watched all your videos and tried to write 1 or 2 essays per day, and just try to get it really into my habit. And What else changed? I think during the time where I learned for the IELTS, I built almost all my English sentence in an essay style way. And always when I said like to my friends, today I will go to a park. There's ample evidence that blah blah blah, all this, or a recent study by Harvard University, blah 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 blah. I like this a lot to play with it.
Yeah. What do you fancy doing tonight? We could go to a cafe down the road because a recent study by Harvard showed that 5 out of 6 attendants.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it was fun for me, maybe not for my friends, but for me, and I just learned to think of some random studies or things that some research could have found out in the past time.
Yeah.
Just to get into the habit of making this.
Exactly, and I find it so amusing that you need to sort of like develop your imagination skill or your like creativity to pass an academic English exam. I think it's quite bizarre, but if that's what's necessary and if that's what makes it easier, then you should do it, because like, as you know, you can't pull up Wikipedia and look for a real study. But that's quite amusing. If I ever hear anybody suggesting we go to a bar because there's a recent study from Oxford University, then I'll be like, give them my cards. I know you have. So let's get back to the interview. So Annika, so you said before you took the IELTS exam because you want to go to a university in London, yeah? Mm-hmm. And what IELTS score did they need from you to get into the university?
It was actually quite simple. It would have been a 6.5.
Right.
But I was really stressed about. I had problems like really, how do you say, finding out how good a 6.5 is, like how is a 6.5 level. I tried to read some texts, and I was really unable to say if I'm already on the level or not. Mm-hmm. In the end, I scored 8 in total.
Wow, that's great.
So I was pretty surprised. Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow. So with your with your band score 8 for IELTS, you'll be starting university in London in September, I guess. So soon.
Yes.
That is fantastic. Great. Wow. And what advice, just before we're coming to an end now, but what advice would you give to anybody who's planning on taking IELTS? What would you say to them?
Well, the first thing I think which helped me the most was just to get really familiar with the system for all 4 parts, so that there won't be any surprises once you take the test, that you just know exactly, okay, now it's 9 a.m. and you will do the writing test, and I know exactly what I will have to do. I just don't know like the content, but I will know like once you see the task, I will know how to write it, like what they require.
Gotcha.
That's the first thing. And the second thing for me, it was like something like I developed a mental strength before that, because I'm really nervous before exams. And I remember that the night before the exam, I think I slept like 3 or 4 hours, so I was really nervous. And I usually, like, sometimes I take things as a sign, that I woke up and I felt like, oh shit, I had a really bad night, so maybe now the IELTS will not be bad. And then I just tried to say like, no, it doesn't have to be a sign. You just you practice a lot, and you actually know what to do, and you just drink your cup of coffee, take a cold shower, and then settle down, and then it will be fine. and I really tried to set my mind into this direction.
Wow, that's a really useful skill to develop. Absolutely,
Yeah,
you can use it for lots of different situations. So that's quite. I think that's a really interesting point that you've mentioned. There is like the preparation, but not like just the technical skills and the English or the language skills. It's like the full mental preparation for the test the night before, and on the exam day. So well done to you there. And then after you convinced yourself that you're going to be okay, from then on you were fine, or were you still a little bit nervous?
I was still a little bit nervous, but then I think maybe when I was in the building where the test took place and everything was really organized, and then I just saw also all the other students in the room, I think then it got easier. And then once I was given the first task, I didn't have time to be nervous anymore. I just said like, okay, now you need to focus. Just do what you practice, and then it worked. It worked out.
Fantastic. And just one last question before we go. Your IELTS examiner for the speaking, how were they? Were they kind, angry?
He was like, he seemed to be very friendly, but it would have been easier for me if I would have seen like any reaction in his face, you know. Like if I have a conversation with someone, I'm sometimes I'm just dependent on the reaction, and he was always smiling with the same face at me all the time. So I didn't know, like, okay, is there like was that now a good answer, a bad answer? I don't know. But I mean, in the end, it's not a conversation that you have.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
The test.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You're like looking at the person, you're looking for facial cues, for acknowledgement or for approval or disapproval, and then and you just get this same face, just smiling back at you. I would imagine that would be kind of frustrating. Just want to jump over and grab him by the neck. But all right. But the questions, did they keep going? Did they keep coming? When you got to part 3, did he just keep on asking you more complex questions?
Yes, and I think I was lucky enough to got some questions that were like where I all had I knew what I could answer. Like, it wasn't something where I would have had to invent something, but it was about, I don't know, social media and Facebook, and also my travel in Japan. So I think I could handle them. It was fine.
That's interesting. Plus, I remember one thing that you did when you was telling me about the preparation. You said that you went to the language cafes, you found like a speaking partner, no? And also you was watching movies and reading English literature. So I just want to say to the other students, like, although Annika was in Japan, she still managed to completely immerse herself into the English language, and I think that would have probably helped you, you know, when you, especially for the speaking, or of course you were lucky with the questions, as you said, but also complete immersion is definitely a big factor, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So do you have anything else to add for any of the current students at the moment preparing for IELTS? Or have you said everything?
I wish everyone good luck. And I think in the end, don't be too scared. I was really scared, and in the end I was like really better than I thought I would be. And I think it's totally manageable if you just study for a couple of weeks, or like it depends on which level you have, maybe a little bit more, but it's totally manageable.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you very much, Annika.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
It was a pleasure.
for listening to IELTSPodcast.com.